We're looking at Mad Squirrel on the UK Brewery Project this week. The origins of Mad Squirrel Brewery actually start in 2004 when it began its life as Red Squirrel Brewery. The brewery was established by Gary Hayward and was based in Hertford, in Hertfordshire. Gary's focus was on producing traditional cask conditioned beers, and he started also as a supporter of the Red Squirrel Conservation Society in the UK, hence sort of where the name came from. The first brew was in March 2004 and it was number one bitter, which came in at 4.1%. This beer is no longer produced, but what I shall do is crack open one of their modern old school bitters, which is Mr. Squirrel, just over here. So let's get a glass. It comes in a 440ml can. Let's get this poured out. A non-nucleated glass as well, I must say. Haven't poured it all exactly in, but there we go. Nice little white head on top. Smells like a bitter, definitely old school style. It's a bitter, yeah. I feel like I'm always doing bitters on this, aren't I? Just because when you talk about breweries, lots that's what their first brew is. A bit of toffee, some nuts in there as well, nuttiness. It's a bitter, what can I say? I'm not sure what equipment Gary was using to begin with. It was definitely small microbrewery. But in June 2004, he purchased a 10-barrel brewery. By his third year, Gary is producing a wide range of ales, including wheat beers, honey porters, and stouts. In 2007, his London Porter won gold in the Regional Camera Awards for that porter category. And also his American IPA won overall winner at the Ealing Beer Festival, which is normally a precursor to the Great British Beer Festival by Camera, I believe. In 2010, Gary sold his brewery to Greg Blesson and Jason Duncan-Anderson, but he, I believe, remained on as a brewer for a few years. They moved the brewery from Hertford to Potton End, which is in Hemel Hempstead, in the sort of Chilterns countryside. And they had a borehole dug, which provided water for the brewery. Greg and Jason had both previously worked in the wine industry, and they decided to become part of the fast-paced brewing industry after feeling the wine industry had become a bit stagnant. In December 2010, the brewery was officially incorporated as Red Squirrel Brewery Limited. To begin with, Greg and Jason carried on with the current range of beers that have been produced, along with launching some new American hopped ales. In 2011, the London Porter won Champion Beer of the Hertford Camera Festival, and then it won it again the following year, making it their first sort of big successful beer. Having a sip. Over the next few years, the brewery did seem to go from strength to strength. The brewery was expanded in 2012 to keep up with the increased demand, and in 2013 they opened their Chesham taproom as the brewery shop. In 2014 they expanded the brewery again to increase the output to, I believe now it's about 5,000 hectolitres on a new 20-barrel kit that they had. In the following year, they added 2 more outlets to their brewery shop chain. I was just trying to do the maths of 5,000 hectolitres in my head there. I think it's about, 900,000 pints maybe. Yeah, about that I think. During their time in charge, the guys had become interested in the craft beer movement and the hoppy beer styles that were all the rage. They began releasing these craft beers in 2014 under a sub-brand of Mad Squirrel. So Red Squirrel was operating as their sort of traditional range, and Mad Squirrel would be what we consider their sort of innovative range. In January 2016, they launched a crowdfunding campaign on Crowdcube. They were aiming to raise £500,000, and this money was going to be used to increase the brewery capacity, along with opening some more of their brewery shop outlets. In the documentation I read, it states that the business at this stage was turning over £2 million a year, and they employed 22 people across their shops and brewery. Within 5 days of launching, they had managed to raise £160,000, and by the end of Feb, they had exceeded their target and had £650,000 from 614 different investors. The money was used to relocate to a new unit in the same industrial estate, but this unit was 5 times bigger. In here, they installed their brand new 30 hectolitre brew kit, which was capable of producing 1.2 million pints a year, and a canning line. Alongside this, they also opened 2 new taproom bottle shops as well. Before they actually commenced brewing and opening their new brewery in summer 2017, they took the decision to rebrand their business from Red Squirrel to Mad Squirrel. And I think from an interview I heard, the branding, everything was all done in one day. It wasn't by him, some interns or whatever came up with the branding and identity. That was to be it. The reason they decided to go with a name change in a sense was Mad Squirrel beers were actually over the past few years winning more awards and making up more of their sales. So they were becoming more popular. So they decided to swing to that route away from their traditional route of Red Squirrel, which was sort of unable to change it. So they've rebranded in 2007, and one of their first newly rebranded beers was Sumo, which I've got just here. So Sumo actually became one of their biggest sellers, and I think by 2019 they said it accounted for about 30% of their output. So I'm going to crack this open. I've only got the 330ml can. I'm going to move that over there to create a bit more room, and I'm going to put that into this glass here. Let's pour it away. So this is an American Pale Ale. Not too high on the ABV, is it? It's 4.7. Let's have a nose of it. Yep. Hoppy. Bit hazy. Pale Ale. Grassy and pine. Yeah, okay, let's try it. It's not bad. Yeah, not bad. Yeah, that's actually quite enjoyable. What I will say is, funnily enough, I've only had 4 beers from them before, and I think the first 2 beers I've ever had from them were Sumo and Mr. Squirrel. But yeah, I think compared to the rating I given them previously, I think they're tasting better than what I originally rated them on Untapped. Particularly, I think, the APA. Just go back to the stout after having a more hoppy beer to see what the impact is, but it still tastes good. This is definitely better than I remember and what I originally rated it. And I can see why it's like their most popular beer that stands out on their range. Going back to the brewery in 2018, they once again went down the crowdfunding route to raise another £250,000, and they managed to end up with, I think, 300,000. This money was used to open a few more of their tap room / bottle shops, which included the St Albans tap room, which opened in 2019. Like much of the brewing world, in 2020 hit Mad Squirrel, though they were well placed with their canning line and their own tap rooms. The tap rooms were able to sort of sell takeout beers, and Mad Squirrel managed to get their beer stocked at some local Waitrose stores in the Hertfordshire area, along with Ocado, who are based over in Hertfordshire as well, head office, and some certain Morrison's shops that were part of that have like a craft stocking range there. Range-wise for the beers that they have, they split it into a few categories. So the main category is core beers. So on the core beers, we've got Sumo, which is a 4.7% American Pale Ale. Then we've got Native, which is a 4.7% Helles Lager, which I don't believe I've got. I've got the other one here. We have also one that I don't have here, I believe, Roadkill, which is a 6.5% New England IPA. We have Hopfest, which is 3.8% Pale Ale, which they reformulated to make gluten-free. And then we have Zealous, which is their Pilsner, coming at 4.4%. And they also have a Milk Stout, De La Creme, at 4.5%. They also have a classic range. Now, the beers in this are not the exact same as the original beers that they produce on the Red Squirrel, but it's sort of a nod to them. And that's where Mr. Squirrel comes in at 4%. And on the far end over there, we've got Big C, which is a West Coast IPA. They also still brew the award-winning London Porter, which is 5%, and Resolution, which is 4.2% Golden Ale. They have a category called Occasional, which is sort of regular returning seasonal beers. And out of that, I've got here Sapwood. That's one of them that falls into that category. And this one is a 8.5% West Coast IPA. And then they've got their limited releases, which are sort of the items that could one day fall into Occasional or you know, the core beer area. And on that sort of got very interesting Cloudburst, which is their 8% New England double IPA. And this one as well, which is hard to see, Splash, which is a Salbro citrus IPA. I've never heard of a Salbro citrus IPA before. What I'm going to do is I'm going to crack this one open as well. Why not? Why not, I hear you say. Create some room for me. Right, let's turn this glass over and let's get this out. I'm not sure what this one's going to be like, because I don't know if I've ever had, I'm assuming Salbro's a hop, and I don't think I've ever had that before, so it'd be interesting. Ooh, quite a big nose off that, wow. So again, slightly hazy, light straw colour. Very citrus nose. You'd think it's more New England, but very citrusy. Right. Ooh. The flavour isn't as citrusy as the nose, or there's something else coming through. Wait a sec. That's interesting. I'm going to have a quick read. What does this say? It's a terrible can because it's a green and then it's got the moisture on it and it's very glossy. So I'm trying to see. Okay, dive into this tropical IPA with a splash of coconut and a dash of lime. I'm not getting the coconut, but maybe the lime is what was coming through there. I think it's the lime. I know lime is citrusy, right? And the lime's cutting through slightly, breaking from that normal sort of citrus flavour that you would be getting from a sort of New England beer. I know it's not New England, but yeah, sort of has that nose and look of it. Right, on to awards. They've won many awards over their lifetime. I've mentioned some of them previously as well, especially with the London Porter, but they've won many local CAMRA and Zebra awards for their, core beers and even the special beers that they released. The most recent award, which they seem proud of, was in 2019 Rate Beer, and they won 2 awards from Rate Beer. They won Best Brewery in Hertfordshire, and Sumo here won Best Beer in Hertfordshire. Feels like a short one. 3 beers lined up as well. I'll move that out of the way. But this has been Mad Squirrel, and this has been UK Brewery Project. Until next time, guys, take care.